everyone, happy Tuesday. I'm so excited you're here for talking about data collection. I get to share a little bit of my fails with you as well, and how much of a struggle data collection was for me and how I found my love for it finally, because this is a huge part of our classrooms and what we do. So if you're here to just learn some more tips and tricks, I got you. All right, so why do we need to take data collection, right? Let's just cover our bases, right? It's law. We need to take it for student IEPs, to show progress, to show least restrictive environment. So all of this data really does truly, truly help us in the classroom. And then, of course, it's meant to be the appropriate placement, again, least restrictive environment, especially with behavior. There are many students that I had in my career that my data for their behavior helped determine that I was not the least restrictive environment for them. And so this was a huge component of what I needed to shape up in my classroom, because I had students that were coming at me that were not prepared to be in my classroom, and needed more restrictive environments. So, of course, showing progress towards goals, we kind of already talked about that. So let's keep going. We know all these things. So your data can look like a variable, like different in each classroom, right? You can just have maybe clipboards with data collection on it, and that's totally fine. You can have digital data collection with Google Forms. You can have a binder with all of the students' names on it, with all of their data sheets inside of it. That's totally fine. Or maybe you have like a data wall where it's got all the data behind it and each color is a different student. However you want to organize it, you can do whatever is best for you. Whatever you need and whatever is best to operate in your classroom, that is what I suggest. And there's not one best way to do it. I know I talk a lot about digital data collection because that saved me. I was losing papers everywhere, and I'll show you that in a minute. But it doesn't have to be one way. You can have it multiple ways too. Common mistakes that I see when people are putting together data sheets, or just in general with data, they're creating goals without seeing the end goal. Like, what is the student supposed to do to show that, right? They can identify shapes. Great. Is it with task cards? Is it with manipulatives? Is it with a worksheet? You're not seeing what the student is actually doing. And so it's hard to work back and have a goal that has no output of what the student needs to do. And then I'm also seeing a lot of teachers that do not use their data sheet to take baseline data. So I have an idea for a goal, I create a data sheet, and then I go and use that data sheet to assess that student. And if there's missing information or not as comprehensive as I need it to, this is a great time to use that data sheet to tweak it, to make it better. Oh, I needed more information about what they were actually tested on, or how long it took them to complete it, something like that. And so I'll tweak data sheets if I'm using it for baseline data. Unclear data sheets or data just not matching the goal at all. I see this all the time, where it's asking for prompts, but there's no prompts in the goal. So the data sheet is asking for prompts and there's no prompts in the goal. So it's just not matching at all. So it's super confusing when I look at a data sheet and go, I don't know what this is asking because that's not what the goal says. Not using your paraprofessionals for support as well. They are allowed to take data. As long as they are trained on how to take IEP data, you are allowed to use them, unless your district has told you otherwise. Use them, train them, use them, let them support the data collection. And then, of course, not making time in your day to track or input that data. So again, we want to set aside time in our schedule, if possible, for data collection. It is super helpful to do that. Put a half hour, 45 minutes, if you can, every day, every other day, however you can, so that you are tracking data on your student IEP goals. Super important. Similarly, if you are taking all these data sheets, I would say once a week or every other week, make sure you're inputting that data so you can see kind of where the trends are if you are using digital, or just kind of see even quick glance of where they are at. Because if they're truly not making progress and not doing well, you're going to want to amend or change the way that you are teaching this or taking data, or you might need to amend the goal entirely because they are not meeting the mark at all. And you would hate to do that after the quarter ends and you go, oh, actually, we we haven't been doing the correct goal or haven't been taking data the correct way. So there's lots of different layers there. But these are just some common mistakes that I'm seeing. So maybe you're guilty of it too. I know I was when I was in the classroom as well. All right, here's the truth. Here's my data collection. Super not proud of it. But it was pieces of tape, post-it notes, yeah, tape, um, all over my pants and legs, and I was just tracking, wherever I could. Or I had like binders with like data sheets in there. Some of them had like paper clipped student work to it, some of it didn't. And it was a mess. All my students were like in a couple binders. It was chaos. Truly, truly chaos. And it did not work for me. So again, clutter on my desk. There was sometimes my data sheets would end up in the trash. I wouldn't know exactly where they went. There'd be missing documents or student work. Again, goes along with that. Um, they're not in the correct order, which is also super crazy when I had to go and report on data and I was like, I don't know if this is the correct order of when this was. Terrible, terrible. Don't do that. Staff didn't know where to put things. So again, it would end up on my desk. It would end up where they were working and I would find it at the end of the day. Sometimes I wouldn't know what it is and it would end up in the trash. So there's a lot of confusion and chaos in that regard. And then unable to quickly analyze that data. Again, paper data, just it wasn't helpful for me to know, is my student making progress 3 weeks into the quarter? So that I had 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 weeks to kind of go into and help that student and take the correct data or support them in the goal in a different way. Okay, so again, what I suggest you do now, as you get ready for back to school is schedule time in your day, of course. Super helpful to make sure there's 30 to 45 minutes, even 15 to 20 would be great. Just to kind of pull students and take some data or use your paraprofessionals, train your paraprofessionals in taking data, super helpful. Find a system that works for you, whether it's paper data, whether it's binders, clipboards, or if it's digital data with Google Forms or Microsoft Forms, whatever way you need to take data, or if your school has a data system, use that. And then be willing to pivot. There were years that I did digital data to start off the year, and I realized my students were super distracted when I had an iPad in front of me taking data that I had to print it all out. So I printed it all out and I would take the data and put it in the system at the end of the week or the end of the day. And so that's something you just need to consider and might be helpful for your students as well. Data Fridays. This was my favorite. So Data Fridays could either mean one of two things or both. You can have student data be taken on Fridays. Again, end of the week, a lot of us are down the downslide, so maybe it's not the best time for your learners. You know them better than I do. But maybe taking data on Fridays was really helpful. Or I usually analyze my data on Fridays so that I knew what next week I needed to do to support that student in a better way, to make them more get them more progress on their goals and do better. So I would analyze my data on Fridays. I would take a look at it. I would also contact all my families on Fridays, but that's a side note. Because again, that was just a helpful time that I was like, I'm going to sit here until I'm done, analyze my data, contact all my families, whether it's a phone call or an email. It was just something I did at the end of the week just to kind of wrap up the week. All right. So a resource for you. I do have my digital data Google Forms for you. You get 48 forms. 40. I guess, sorry, 40. I lied. Not 48, 40 forms for you. And it's already pre-made, ready to go. So this one is for you. I will make sure this link is in the group this week, just to save you some time so you don't have to set it all up yourself. I do have a digital data mini course as well. 30-minute training, that's all it is, where you can learn how to set up an IEP goal in a Google Sheet, in a Google form, and then transfer it to a Google Sheet so that you can keep everything organized in one place. If you're curious about digital data, I love talking about digital data. So you can ask me any questions. I'm happy to answer all of them. And you got this. Let's have a great school year. I will see you the rest of the week. Tomorrow is all about independent work tasks. And I got some tips and tricks for how to get your students really involved if you feel like maybe they can't do it. So I'll see you tomorrow.